What are the best songs from Psalm 6? My name is Daniel Mount, and we'll answer that question on today's episode of the Expository Songs podcast. I've picked what I think are the 5 strongest settings of this psalm. And I'll start at number 5 with Lord, Do Not Chasten Me in Wrath, Psalm 6a by Crown and Covenant. Crown and Covenant records a cappella psalm paraphrases from the Book of Psalms for Worship. That's a hymnal they publish that has 440 settings of all 150 psalms. Within the realm of traditional metrical paraphrases, I think this is the best setting of this psalm. At number 4, I have Psalm 6 by Jamie Soules, and he wrote the melody. The lyrics are from the Committee for the Publication of the Book of Praise of the Canadian Reformed Churches. Jamie was kind enough to come on this podcast as its first artist guest. He's composed hundreds of strong original lyrics and melodies through the years, but one thing he mentioned in the episode, I believe, is that over the last few years he's been particularly focused on creating new melodies for the Psalter his church uses, which is the Canadian Reformed Book of Praise. He only has a simple guitar and voice live version of this song on YouTube, but I think even in that simple setting, the potential really shines through. I don't know if this song will reach as wide an audience as some of the other songs in this top 5 unless he or somebody else records a studio version, but with the right recorded version and the right people hearing it at the right time, I could easily envision this becoming one of the standard Psalm 6 congregational versions of this decade. At number 3, I have Gently, Gently Lay Thy Rod by Henry Francis Lyte, also titled Gently, Gently, in Nathan Clark George's rendition. Now, if you recognize the name Henry Francis Lyte, that's probably because you were looking at the hymnal credits as you were singing the hymn Abide With Me. If you study hymns and love hymns, you might also know Jesus on My Cross Have Taken and Praise My Soul, the King of Heaven. But his treatment of Gently, Gently Lay Thy Rod is his treatment of Psalm 6. And my initial inclination was to put this in the retuning challenge portion of this episode. And that's because it has a really good lyric. The lyric is, Gently, gently lay thy rod on my sinful head, O God. Stay thy wrath and mercy stay, lest I sink before its sway. Heal me, for my flesh is weak. Heal me, for thy grace I seek. This my only plea I make, heal me for thy mercy's sake. Who within the silent grave shall proclaim thy power to save? Lord, my trembling soul reprieve. Speak, and I shall rise and live. Lo, he comes, he heeds my plea. Lo, he comes, the shadows flee. Glory round me dawns once more. Rise my spirit and adore. So I was going to put this in the retuning challenge because I searched YouTube for title matches for the full hymn title, Gently, Gently Lay Thy Rod. The hymn tune's actually decent, and there's also another decent at-home version on YouTube, but then I realized that this was also the hymn text for Nathan Clark George's setting with the shortened title of Gently, Gently, and this setting is congregationally accessible with a strong enough tune that I moved it from that into my top 5. At number 2, I have Lord, How Long, Psalm 6, written by Jody Killingsworth and Jake Menzel and recorded by My Soul Among Lions. There is great value in taking good psalm settings of past centuries and putting them to new music. But there's also a need for fresh settings in today's language. And that's why I ranked this one at number 2 and also the highest of the congregational songs in this top 5. Its fresh lyrics and its current melody make it the Psalm 6 setting that I'd personally likely be most likely to use in a congregational setting. And then at number 1, I have O Father, Do You See, written by Rachel, Wilhelm, Karin, Simmons, and Kate Bluett, and recorded by Cardiphonia Music featuring Rachel Wilhelm. In this decade of Christian music, Rachel Wilhelm is the queen of lament. Her palette of musical colors is predominantly in the minor keys, and her musical genius really shines through in the unique melodies and chord progressions she writes in these minor keys. And those are definitely in full force in this song. This treatment of Psalm 6 really focuses on its first 4 verses. It's probably too complex musically to work as a congregational setting in most contexts, including mine. But I had to put it at the top due to its musical excellence. It definitely stands out among the other settings of this psalm really unique and really strong. I have a number of runners-up, and several, especially the first 2 or 3 I'll name, could have easily made the top 5. It was practically a flip of the coin amongst my top 8 or so. But I tried to keep a variety of styles in the top 5. Within the repertoire of a lot of artists, Psalm 6 is one of their melancholic laments. But when I'm picking a top 5, I don't want to pick songs that all sound the same. So I picked the slightly more energetic My Soul Among Lions take, and I picked the traditional Psalter setting, and I picked the melancholic but very unique, from a chord progression standpoint, Cardiphonia treatment, to give some musical variety, because it's one thing, an artist can go melancholic and lamenty with Psalm 6 compared to their other psalms, and it's unique among their other psalm settings. But when you're going through one Psalm 6 song after another, and many of them are in that vein, it's a little harder to find something that has to bring a little bit of musical variety to the top 5. So a number of these, most of these treatments in these runners-up are lamenting, and it's just a matter of picking amongst those for the 3, 4-ish that I put in the top 5 within that musical style. That said, my runners-up are Chide Me, O Lord, No Longer by Brother Down, Turn, O Lord, Jamie Souls, Psalm 6, How Long, O Lord by Carl Kohlhaas, In the Grave, Who Will Give You Praise, Psalm 6 by a Common Psalter, Restore Me, Psalm 6 by the Shire Prophets, and Psalm 6 by Sons of Korah. Moving on to the retuning challenge. These are lyrics that I really like, and it's a good lyric, but it could use a new melody. Maybe it has an old hymn melody that's a little dated. Maybe it doesn't have a melody I could find. Either way, I just named songs that I think could use a new melody, and then I quote a verse or two, let the words speak for themselves. At number 2, I have Pleading for Mercy by John Newton from his 1779 Olney Hymns. It's all good, but especially the last verse. But hence thou enemy depart, nor tempt me to despair. My Savior comes to cheer my heart. The Lord has heard my prayer. I love how he ended it. And I have at number 1, No Longer, Lord, Despise Me by Edward A. Collier. No longer, Lord, despise me, nor in thy wrath chastise me. Thy mercy I implore. How long thine anger cherish, consumed thereby I perish. My soul is troubled sore. To me, O Lord, returning, save thou with pity yearning, shall death thy memory keep? Or shall the grave confess thee? Or I give thanks and bless thee, while night and day I weep? The Lord will ever hear me, and when I pray be near me, to put my foes to shame. Turn back no more to grieve me, they suddenly shall leave me. All glory to his name. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with a friend and subscribe to catch future episodes. You can also find past episodes and the free 74,000 entry Expository Songs searchable database at expositorysongs.com. Thank you for listening.